Hello. Well, see, this is exactly what I was about to do. I was about to mute my phone because I forgot to do it ahead of time. So I'm going to do that now so you guys don't have to hear it dinging while we're reading. Let's see, volume. Nope, it's not the right one. Okay, I'm going to see if I can tilt this back a little so that we can, hey, look at that. Well, hello. It is time to pick back up with Love, Sugar, Magic, A Dash of Trouble by Anna Mariano. And I'm Miss Carla. If you're just seeing this video and you haven't been with us for the first 21 chapters of this book, take a look at the playlist that this video is going to be a part of, and you should be able to see all of the previous installments so you can start from the beginning and listen to the whole book. We are now on chapter 22, Out of the Jar. Oh, because remember what happened last time? Oh, my hair's sticking up a little bit. Their friend Brent. Where was he? He was missing, and it turned out he was tiny, and he was in that spell jar. So this is chapter 22, Out of the Jar, and it looks like that spell book is our picture for this chapter. Oh, it says cookbook, but I have a feeling it's the one with the spells in it. Leo thanked Mr. Campbell for the ride, but didn't invite him or Caroline in. She didn't think Mama and Daddy had heard about Brent, and she didn't want them to yet. She needed time to think. Mama was busy on the phone, and Isabel and Marisol fought over a pair of tights that Marisol had borrowed and then ripped, so Leo only had to return a wave and ignore a questioning look, and then she was free to dart into her room and close the door. She put her backpack on her bed and stared at it as though it might burst into flames at any moment. She wished Caroline could have stayed. Leo unzipped the backpack and gently lifted out the honey jar. Tiny Brent still slept inside. Leo stared in horror and fascination, watching tiny bubbles float out of Brent's open mouth. She watched his minuscule eyelashes twitch. Finally, like jumping off a diving board, Leo squeezed her eyes shut and twisted the lid. Pop! The jar snapped open and the lid wrenched out of Leo's hand and flew a foot into the air. Tiny Brent also flew, luckily not so high that Leo couldn't hold out her hand and catch him. Ah! Brent's voice was only a little squeakier and quieter than normal, which meant that his scream was still very loud. Ah! Shh! Leo tried to cover him with her other hand, but he was too big and his legs and arms flailed wildly, getting honey all over Leo's fingers. Help! Mom! Ah! Shush! Brent, be quiet. Leo lifted her hand closer to her face, and Brent snapped his mouth shut. And stared wildly around the room. Shh, Leo said again. It's all right. It will be all right. Leo? Isabel knocked on the door. Are you okay, sweetie? Fine, Leo called out, her own voice shrill with fright. I was trying to reach the top of my closet and I almost fell. Ha ha ha. She put her hand over her mouth to stop the hysterical laughter spilling out and tasted honey. Okay, Isabel called. Come for dinner soon. Daddy's making quesadillas. Leo waited for the sound of her sister walking back down the hall before she took her hand away from her mouth. Okay, she whispered. Please keep quiet, Brent. I'm sure you're confused. Leo didn't know where to start. While she tried to think of a way to explain things, Brent spun around in her palm, his eyes wide and mouth open as he took in the room. What's happening? Brent looked from Leo's face to her palm under his feet. What am I? He turned until he found the mirror hanging above Leo's dresser. Leo met his eyes in the mirror as he took in the whole scene. She hoped he wouldn't scream again. You shrank me! Brent spat, though he did keep his voice low. You shrank me, Leo Logroño, and I'm telling my mom, and you're going to jail for... For shrinking me! And what am I covered in? Hold on. Look, this was all an accident. I never meant. It's just honey, Leo said. Brent hesitated, then cautiously licked his hand. Oh, okay. He watched the honey drip from his fingers, his face turning calm. This isn't happening. He reached with one honey-coated hand and dug his fingernails into his honey-coated arm in a vicious-looking pinch. Ow. Brent, don't. Brent faced the mirror again, waved, made faces, hopped up and down. Leo wondered if the honey had dripped into his brain. You're supposed to wake up if you look in the mirror during a dream, he finally explained. You can't see yourself normally. You also can't read clocks. He nodded glumly to Leo's alarm clock. This isn't happening. This isn't happening. Why aren't any of the normal dream tricks working? Because it's not a dream. Brent looked down at his slowly dripping pajamas. Okay. He took a deep breath. Well, then, can I use your bathroom? Probably not, Leo answered honestly. At maybe 5 inches tall, Brent would have a hard time with the faucets. But I can bring you some water and a bowl and give me a second. Leo, what's going on? Leo had no good answer to that question. She couldn't explain anything without revealing everything. Maybe it was too late to worry about secrecy, but she didn't know what to do. Let me get you some bath water, she said. It's going to be okay. Just wait here. She glanced around the room and then dropped Brent on the table in front of her 3-story wooden dollhouse, which was just Brent's size. You can sit in there if you want. I'll be right back. When Leo returned from the bathroom with Marisol's jewelry bowl, emptied of its contents and filled with warm water, Brent was sitting on the front steps of the dollhouse, wiping honey out of his hair. Thanks, he said, when Leo set the bowl down on the counter and lifted him to climb in. Sorry about saying you were going to jail. Whatever's happening to me, it's not like it's your fault. I've just been having a really strange week. He ducked under the water and rubbed the stickiness off his face. Leo's stomach twisted. Brent's terrible week was all her fault, even if he had been cruel to Caroline. Now he was confused and scared, and even though Leo's brain spun with possible lies she could tell him to keep her family's secret, she owed Brent an honest answer. She sighed and sat down on the edge of her bed. Brent, do you remember the note Caroline sent you last week and how mean you were about it? She told the whole story, start to finish, while Brent scrubbed honey off of his clothes and body. She took a break in the middle to switch the sweetened water for clean rinse water, and another to get Brent a washcloth to dry himself on. After she finished, Brent sat in silence for a long time. Leo tried to wait patiently. She knew it was a lot for him to hear in one sitting. She hoped he wasn't going to scream or yell again, but she couldn't blame him if he did. He fiddled with the dollhouse furniture, setting the rooms up for company. That, Brent finally said, is ridiculous. There's no such thing as magic. What are you talking about? I gave you a love potion and it worked. And look at yourself. I shrank you. There must be a logical explanation. You're not a mad scientist, are you? No, you weren't listening. I'm a witch. Brent wrapped himself in the washcloth, which dragged behind him like a dingy gray bridal train. No, you're not smart enough to be a mad scientist. Caroline, maybe. I'm smart, Leo cried, her cheeks turning red. I'm plenty smart enough to be a mad scientist, for your information. I just happen not to be one because I'm busy being a witch. Leo was starting to think she liked the love-bitten Brent better than the regular one. Here. She peeled a pair of red pants and a yellow t-shirt off the wire-limbed Big Brother doll. Put these on and let your pajamas dry. Before I lock you in a drawer, she added silently. She set up a changing room made out of 2 old picture books propped upright, since the dollhouse was specifically designed not to give the dolls any privacy. After a few seconds, Brent emerged from between the books, looking like a scarecrow in the baggy new clothes. I'm hungry. Are you going to feed me while you keep me prisoner? He said. I'm not keeping you prisoner. I'm helping you. So, will you bring me home? No, I can't. I'm not done helping you yet. Leonora! Daddy's voice interrupted, luckily from far enough down the hall that Leo could shove the makeshift bathtub behind the dollhouse, push the picture books down flat, and grab Brent by the back of his shirt and hide him on the top floor of the dollhouse before jumping onto her bed just in time to be reading quietly when Daddy knocked and pushed the door open. Leonora, dinner's ready. We're all waiting for you. Okay, Daddy, I'll be right there. Just 1 second. Sure, but hurry up. My quesadillas are in high demand, you know. He turned and headed back down the hall. They won't last forever. Quesadillas? Brent poked his head out of the top window of the dollhouse, making the puppy dog face Leo recognized from the festival. She sighed. I'll bring you one. Do you like salsa? Chapter 23, Emergency. After dinner, Leo did her best to blend in with the wall. Mama's voice drifted out from the study where she talked to Tia Paloma on the phone. Alma and Belen were studying for their December finals by attempting to develop their psychic twin powers, thus allowing them to each cram only half of the material. They had been silently staring at each other all evening without any apparent success. Daddy and Muddy Soul argued back and forth about some boring thing from the news, and Isabel tried to keep peace between them. Leo finished her meal quickly and quietly, and then hid half of her second quesadilla in a napkin to carry back to her room. Here, eat this. Leo shoved the folded tortilla through the dollhouse window. I'll be right back. I have to make a phone call. It's as big as I am, Brent called back. Leo couldn't tell if he was complaining or celebrating. She scrambled down the hall and stopped just outside the study to see if Mama had finished her conversation. Are you sure you didn't leave them somewhere, Paloma? Mama asked. Did you check your sewing basket? She paused. The feathers, too? And you're positive you didn't use them? Well, I just don't see the point of breaking into the bakery only to make off with a couple of ingredients, no matter how rare. I'll ask my girls. Maybe Isabel has been practicing. But really, I'll be there to help you look tomorrow. I'm sure it's not. Mama turned and saw Leo in the doorway. Leo! Hi, sweetie, what's up? Paloma, I'll have to call you back. Yes, I'll ask. No, of course I believe you. Bye, amor. Besitos. Mama took the phone away from her ear and smiled at Leo, who was trying to scrape up any fraction of magical talent she had to transform herself into a chair or a potted plant. Hey, Hita, how are you? You seemed upset earlier. Leo tried to smile, but after hearing Mama's side of the phone conversation, her cheeks felt broken. Tia Paloma had noticed the missing ingredients, the spiderwebs and the feathers and the jars and everything, and now Mama knew about them too. The harder Leo tried to look innocent, the more she could feel her face twisting, sweat gathering in front of her ears. Mama, I wondered if I need to. Can I use the phone? Leo kept her eyes glued to the floor and wiggled her toes nervously through her green and purple octopus socks. Mama smiled. Calling Caroline? Leo nodded without looking up. Fine, Hita. You know, if you want to talk, I'm here. Middle school is tough sometimes, but I got all your sisters through it. Gracias a Dios. I'm okay, really. Just homework stuff. Leo didn't remember exactly what sorts of trouble her sisters got into in middle school, but she was pretty sure it wasn't as bad as making a Thumbelina-sized boy, and none of them had ever robbed the bakery. Mama handed Leo the phone and shouted for Isabel. In her room, Leo dialed Caroline's phone number, the one for her cell phone that Caroline had written in Leo's notebook. It only rang once before Caroline answered. What's happening? Tell me, is Brent? He's small, Leo said. Really small. Like you saw, but he's, alive and eating, and he's not serenading me, so I think that part actually worked. Brent poked his head out the window and waved a cheese and pico-covered arm. Oh, great. That's just great, Caroline whispered angrily. He's not in love with the 6th grade anymore. He's just 5 inches tall. I know, I'm sorry. This whole thing is a disaster. I can't believe I let you talk me into it. Caroline's anger seeped through the phone. We did it together. But now it's all horrible, she yelled. You didn't say this would happen. I can't believe you did this. She hung up the phone. The sound of the dial tone rang in Leo's ears. Tears pricked her eyes. She had definitely lost her best friend now. She took 3 deep breaths. She was on her own. Was that my mom? Can I talk to her? Brent called from the dollhouse. It wasn't. Why would I be calling your mom? Leo couldn't keep the frustration out of her voice, so her words came out in a snap. The phone rang again. She answered on the first ring so her sisters wouldn't pick up. Leo? Caroline's voice sounded like a mouse's. Caroline, I'm sorry. I'm sorry too, I know. Caroline sighed. Leo, how are we going to... You're talking to Caroline? Brent called out. Yes, hush. We might have to tell your mom, Caroline said. How is Caroline going to help with any of this? Brent yelled. Leo clamped her hand over her free ear and sighed in frustration. Caroline, I'll call you back. And no, I'm not talking to my mom or anybody's mom. I'm going to figure this out. But if you don't think of anything... Caroline gave a shaky sigh. I'll call you back. She hung up before Caroline could say anything else and hid the phone under her pillow. Caroline didn't understand anything if she thought Leo could simply go to Mama and ask for help unshrinking a boy. Leo couldn't imagine the disappointed look Mama would unleash or the ear-blistering lecture. No way would Mama let her work in the bakery. She might even, Leo gulped, refuse to teach Leo any magic until she was 30 or 50 or never. Leo would be the only girl in the family to be unmagical and uninitiated and alone. No, Leo couldn't let Mama find out. She would have to find a counterspell herself. Were there even counterspells? Reverse spells? They didn't find one for the love bite spell, and it would take Leo forever to translate her way through the spell book. Hey, Brent peeked out of the dollhouse, chewing on a piece of quesadilla that looked as big as a whole pizza in his hand. You're going to call my mom soon, aren't you? Why do you keep asking that? Leo groaned. She pulled the recipe book out of her backpack and dropped it onto the desk in front of the dollhouse, flipping it open randomly to a recipe for cookies that would either cause or get rid of warts. It wasn't very helpful, but at least glancing through the pages made Leo feel like she was trying to fix the problem. Well, someone needs to call her, Brent said. She's going to be so worried. She probably already is. Leo slammed the book shut so hard it made the dollhouse shake. Brent grabbed the side of the wall to keep from falling. Leo immediately felt even worse than before. I'm sorry. She put her hand on the house to settle it. I'm sorry. I don't know how to fix it, and I can't tell anyone, and I can't call your mom. How would you feel if it were your mom? Leo would feel terrible. Leo did feel terrible. She remembered Mrs. Bayman's crying and Mr. Campbell's grim face. If Leo knew that Mama and Daddy were suffering that much, she would do anything to call them. Okay, but you can't tell her anything, please. Not yet. I'm going to fix everything. She took the phone from under her pillow and picked up Brent, placing him on her knee. What's the number? Dial *67 first, Brent said, so she can't see the caller ID. Leo dialed, and Brent climbed onto the phone and peered down at the mouthpiece as it rang. Hello? Hello? A frantic Mrs. Bayman shouted. Mom? Brent shouted back. Baby, is that you? I can't hear you. Where are you? I'm going to come get you right now. Mom, I can't talk right now. I'm fine, though, he said. Where are you? Her voice grew louder. I can barely hear you. Where have you been all day? I can't tell you what's going on or where I am. It's a secret, but don't worry. Seriously, I'm fine. I'll see you soon. Mrs. Bayman burst into tears. Her sobs echoed in Leo's room. Hang up, Brent whispered, but Leo was frozen. So Brent climbed up the phone and leaned against the red button. I'm so sorry. I'll fix this. He looked up at her. Can you? Leo looked at the recipe book she could barely read and thought about all the ways her magic had already messed up. She didn't know all the rules of being a witch, but the rules of being a good person meant she had to do whatever she could to fix her mistakes, even if it meant getting into trouble. She couldn't keep hurting Brent and Caroline because she was afraid. I can't fix it, she admitted. Not on my own. Wait here a minute, I'll be back. The door to Marisol and Isabel's room was wide open, which was only the case when the two girls argued. Leo wished she had picked a day when Isabel was in a better mood to ask for help, but Mrs. Bayman's tears compelled her to step into the doorway and cough. Leo? Isabel turned around. What's up? Leo walked inside without saying anything. The left side of the room, Marisol's half, was in its usual state of chaos, with black tank tops and neon leggings strewn across the floor, books and papers with colorful doodles falling off the desk. Marisol sprawled on her unmade bed with her back to the door. Hey! Marisol sprawled on her unmade bed with her back to the door, and Leo could hear the music blasting out of her headphones from where she stood. Isabel's side of the room was tidy and pastel, with a large color-coded whiteboard calendar hanging over the bed. Isabel sat at her desk with a book open in front of her, but an indent in her normally crisp bed and the haphazard placement of her stuffed duck, Patty, meant that she had been moping recently. Leo climbed onto the bed and pulled Patty into her lap, hoping that the duck would give her courage. What are you doing? She asked. Isabel sighed before answering. Just getting some homework done, because I'm the responsible one, which apparently counts for nothing around here. Leo nodded, rubbing the worn-down bumps of Patty's yellow fur. Marisol still hadn't turned around, and Leo was pretty sure her moody sister couldn't hear anything through her music, but she still hesitated. She couldn't just blurt out that she had a boy living in her dollhouse. She had to start at the beginning. But where was the beginning of this mess? And you would think, Isabel continued before Leo could collect her thoughts, that if Mama noticed, especially on the very same day that Marisol stole my clothes out of my closet, that if Mama noticed things missing from the bakery, she might try interrogating the family juvenile delinquent. Isabel glared across the room at Marisol's unresponsive back. But no, it must be me who stole the things, because I spend so much time at the bakery and I'm so interested in learning. Isabel stopped, glanced at the door, and added more quietly, learning magic. In other words, because I'm responsible. Isabel huffed one last time and then smiled a little sheepishly. Sorry, Leo. I'm not mad at you. Now Leo really didn't know what to say. Heart pounding, stomach twisting, she swallowed a few times. What happened? What's missing from the bakery? Some special ingredients, crow feathers and spider webs and a few other things. Marisol says it wasn't her, but I don't really see Alma and Belen getting up to that sort of thing. They have enough trouble learning to control their ghosts. But then where? Leo stared straight at her lap. Isabel leaned forward, trying to meet her eyes, which Leo promptly shut. Leo? Leo couldn't answer, not with Marisol sitting so near. It was one thing to come to Isabel for help. At least Isabel liked magic. Marisol had threatened to tell Mama if she caught Leo again. Leo, you didn't. Leo didn't know what to say. She set Patty gently on the bed and grabbed Isabel's hand, towing her out the door, up the hallway, and straight to Leo's bedroom. I need help, Leo whispered as Isabel stepped into Leo's room. Leo, what did you do? I have a problem, a magic problem, and I need help. It's a magic emergency. She followed Isabel inside. Okay, Isabel said. At least we know what happened at the bakery. But I don't see any emergencies. Brent, can you, come out? It was nice of him to hide, she thought. He didn't know who was coming in, and he could have tried to get the attention of Mama or anyone who might call his mother. But he had hidden to keep Leo out of trouble. That was nice. Leo didn't deserve that niceness. My sister is here to help. Isabel whipped her head around the room, checking the closet, the space under the bed, even craning her neck to see behind the bedside table. All the places a normal sixth-grade boy might be able to hide. She didn't seem to notice the rustling coming from the dollhouse until Brent's tiny head appeared in the window and his tiny arm waved to attract her eye. Hi, he said. I sure hope you're better at this magic stuff than Leo is. Also, are there any more quesadillas? Leo couldn't really blame Isabel for screaming. Let's see. I think we can fit one more chapter in. Chapter 24, called Duel. Isabel recovered quickly, stamping her foot and yelling out, "Daddy, will you buy bug spray next time you go out? Leo had a roach in her room and it scared me to death." "Thanks a lot," Brent said, but Isabel didn't answer, just stared at him and then at Leo and then at the door. Thinking of getting Mama? Leo hoped not. Finally, Isabel brought both hands up to her face. Leo cringed in case her sister screamed again or cried. "Isabel?" "Sorry." Isabel's voice rang out high and muffled through her hands. Sorry. She bent forward, and Leo realized that her sister was laughing. "Isabel! It's not funny!" I know, it's not." Isabel tried to catch her breath, but had to cover her mouth again when a giggle escaped. "It's not funny. I'm so sorry, Leo, and is it Brent?" "Brent Bayman, nice to meet you." Brent stuck his tiny hand out the window for a shake. Isabel only laughed harder. A scratching noise on the closed door made Leo turn around, and a second later Marisol pushed the door open, Señor Gato dashing past her into the room. Isabel, who still tried to cover her laughter, did nothing at all to block Marisol's view of the tiny person still hanging out of the dollhouse window. "I knew it!" Marisol's headphones hung around her neck, and she scowled through smudged eyeliner. She pointed her finger not at Leo, who expected it, but at Isabel. "I knew this would happen. If you kept encouraging her." Marisol shut the door behind her and stomped over to the dollhouse, scooping Brent up carefully in her cupped hands and examining him. Brent tried to protest, but one icy glare from Marisol silenced him. Isabel had stopped laughing. "I had nothing to do with this," she snapped, "but I'm going to fix it. You can help unless you want to hide from the big scary magic." Leo had no interest in her sister's bickering. "You're going to fix it? How?" Isabel and Marisol were too busy glaring to answer. Her older sister stood there until Marisol crossed the room and let Brent step onto her hand. Both girls climbed onto Leo's bed and sat cross-legged, facing each other. Isabel gently tipped Brent onto the bed between them. Señor Gato leaped onto the bed, eyeing the tiny Brent and crouching into pounce position. Isabel and Marisol were still busy with their staring contest, so Leo pushed him off and shooed him out of her room. "What are you doing?" Brent turned nervously to face Isabel, then Marisol. "Have your methods been tested and peer-reviewed? I don't want to end up a failed experiment." "Hush, Pipsqueak, you're fine." Marisol rolled her eyes. "Come here, Leo." Isabel made room for Leo on the bed. Crawling up to form a triangle with Marisol and Isabel made Leo feel young, like she and her sisters could have been playing dolls or having a tea party. "One of the reasons you shouldn't do magic before your lessons start," Isabel raised her eyebrows in a look designed to make Leo feel guilty, "is because you won't know how to fix your mistakes." "I looked for undo spells, but there weren't any in the recipe book. I wasn't trying to shrink him," Leo explained. "What were you trying to do then?" Isabel asked, but to Leo's relief, Marisol interrupted. "I don't care what she was doing. Leo, we can fix this, but only if you promise no more magic experiments." Leo looked to Isabel, but her sister nodded. Even after all the mix-ups, Leo wasn't ready to give up and forget all about her magic for 3 whole years. She wanted to learn how her spells had gone wrong, and she wanted to study how to make them go right next time. She wanted there to be a next time, and soon. But Leo had dragged Brent into this mess, and she had to get him out of it. And to do that, she needed her sister's help. She sighed. "I promise." "Yeah, I don't buy it. You already promised me you were going to stay out of trouble, and look how well that turned out." Marisol shrugged, ruining Leo's moment of self-sacrifice. "Excuse me, ma'am?" Brent stared up at Isabel, his hands raised like he was in school. It's not really magic, is it?" I mean, magic doesn't exist. Isabel and Marisol looked at Brent, looked at Leo, looked at each other. Anyway, Marisol said to Isabel, if we really want to put a stop to it, we're going to have to tell Mama. Marisol, you can't! Leo grabbed Isabel's arm. I promise, Isabel, I won't mess with magic anymore. Don't tell Mama. Cucaracha, you lost your right to make cute puppy dog eyes when you shrank your friend. Leo, stop pulling at me. Marisol, stop torturing her. I want her to be safe, Marisol said. You're the one who's been filling her head with magic she's not ready for. You're the one who started all of this. I'm just trying to end it. Isabel took a deep breath, closed her eyes. Just hold on a minute, she said in a soft voice. Leo found herself nodding along, her panic fading as the muscles in her shoulders relaxed. She barely noticed the buzzing in her head or the way the room tilted. Nobody wants Leo in danger. Ow! Isabel clapped a hand to her cheek and ducked to avoid the second toothpick Marisol flicked toward her. Leo shook her head, clearing away the dizziness and the magical calm that Isabel had created. Another toothpick appeared in Marisol's open palm and flew straight into Isabel's ponytail. Marisol! Isabel snapped. Cut that out! What? It's fine for you to use your magic on me, but I can't fight back? I didn't attack you. I was just trying to... Ow! You're being so immature. You don't take any of the magic seriously anyway, so why pretend like you care now? Brent turned from one sister to the other like he was watching a game of ping pong. Leo tried to shrink into her bed. So what? I should always be experimenting and working and not having any friends? Having magic isn't about hiding from real life. Having magic isn't about forging hall passes and getting free makeup and avoiding responsibilities. Isabel closed her eyes, and Leo yelped as a wave of anxiety hit her, the accompanying dizziness almost knocking her off the bed. Turn it off, Marisol whispered through clenched teeth, or I swear I will start throwing spiders. Now, Isabel! The two girls stared at each other. Marisol held her palm out like a weapon. Stop, Leo said. Her sisters turned to look at her. Stop, please, both of you. You're making everything worse. She threw her hands over her face, expecting spiders to fly at her any second. Sorry, Leo. I'm sorry. You're right, Isabel said with a sigh. Neither of us just set a very good example of what being a bruja is about. You started it, Marisol muttered, but she held up her hands in defeat when Isabel clucked her tongue. Having magical abilities, it doesn't mean holding power over people. It's supposed to be a way to express your love, a way to take care of each other. But taking care doesn't always mean covering for, Marisol said with a scowl. Not if the person you love is playing with fire. She made a fist and opened her hand to reveal a purple lighter, just like the one she had used for Alma and Belen's magic ceremony, which she flicked on and off. It's not like I wanted to get you in trouble, Cucaracha, even if you do deserve it. She turned to Isabel. So, last chance. If you're sure you can fix this without Mama's help, then I won't say anything. Isabel nodded. She offered Marisol a small smile. Marisol shrugged, but she didn't roll her eyes or scowl. Isabel clapped her hands once. Right. Now we need to get this boy normal-sized and back home. Please, Brent added. Leo, Isabel said, the reason you couldn't find an undo spell is because there isn't just one spell that will undo any other spell. All spells have to be unraveled individually, usually by creating some kind of opposite of the original spell. So if your shrinking spell used fire, you might use ice for an unshrinking spell. Maybe. That doesn't make sense. Brent waved his hands in the air to get Isabel's attention. Some reactions are irreversible. Everyone knows that. You can't unburn toast by putting it in the freezer. Excuse me, little boy, whoever you are. Marisol leaned forward so that Brent had to stare straight up to meet her eyes. Are you a bruja? A witch? No, because are you an expert on magic? Magic doesn't... Then I don't care how many fourth-grade science textbooks you've read. Keep quiet and learn something. Be nice, Marisol, Isabel scolded. Brent, magic operates by rules just like everything. The rules just happen to be different from the rules of the physical world. Scientists study the physical world, but brujas study the magical world, and after years of spellcasting, we've managed to figure out what a lot of those rules are, and we know what we're talking about." Brent shrugged. Marisol poked him with a long red fingernail. "Ow, okay, I'm sorry." "Anyway, Leo, one of the good things about being a beginner is that it's easy for your more experienced teachers to undo your spells, so you don't have to worry about creating opposite unraveling spells for every little mistake you make. I'll show you. Do you have a piece of ribbon or a string would work?" Isabel said. Leo looked around her room. She probably had something that Isabel could use, somewhere. Maybe left at the bottom of her sock drawer or buried in the wooden chest of dress-up clothes and board games at the foot of her bed. "Here." Marisol held out her hand, which had just been empty. It now contained a piece of silky red ribbon about as long as Brent was tall. "Thanks." Isabel took the ribbon and tied it quickly into a long line of knots, one on top of the other. She handed the knotted ribbon to Leo. "Now tell us what happened, and don't leave anything out. It's part of the spell." Leo told them. She did her best to focus and concentrate so that her story became threads of magic twisting into the knotted ribbon. "And so I took him home and put him in the dollhouse and fed him a quesadilla, and I need to get him back soon before the police catch us. And before my mom tears the town down looking for me," Brent added. Marisol hushed him with a one-fingered tap on his head. "Thank you, Leo." Isabel took the knotted ribbon back and raised her eyebrows. "You have been practicing, haven't you? I can feel it in your magic." "Okay, scoot back, everyone. Give him some room." Marisol and Leo moved to the very edges of the bed, leaving tiny Brent alone in the empty space of the center. Isabel held out her hand to Marisol, who took it with a slight eye roll. Then Isabel closed her eyes, and the knots in her palm melted away, leaving a straight length of ribbon. "There you go, Leo." Isabel opened her eyes with a smile. "Now let's get your friend back to—" She stopped, her mouth hanging open. "It didn't work," said Brent, in his same squeaky voice, in his same shrunken body. "Why didn't it work?" I, Isabel fiddled with the ribbon, as if checking to make sure no knots were hiding in it. Leo couldn't remember if she'd ever seen her older sister look so confused. "Did you screw it up?" Marisol asked. "You should at least have turned a weird color or something if you screwed it up. Why didn't anything happen?" "I don't know," Isabel admitted. Leo had been in near panic mode for such a long time she was surprised that she even noticed her pounding heart or churning stomach or tightening throat anymore. But fear was hard to ignore, creeping through her and freezing her organs and brain. What if Brent was right after all? What if some reactions, some spells, couldn't be unraveled? Leo had been so relieved to turn everything over to Isabel, to let someone else fix things, it never occurred to her it might be unfixable. Isabel, Marisol, and Leo stared at each other in hopeless confusion, and might have gone on staring, except that right then the door creaked open, and 3 pairs of eyes peeked around the open crack. That's the end of the chapter. The next chapter will be chapter 25, Seance. And we are on page 255. There are, let's see, a total of 300 pages in this book, which means we have 45 pages left. So I think maybe 2 more sessions and we will finish this book. I'm planning on continuing on to another chapter book when we're done with this one. So if you were watching them, don't be sad, there's more coming. Oh, I can't wait to find out how this ends. Have a good day, everybody.